Hi and welcome to this week's Bible lesson walkthrough. So this week we're talking about the 12 spies in the promised land. So at the front, if you haven't downloaded already, go to truewaykids.com. The link will be below. Download this week's lesson and hopefully this guide will help you to deliver it to your child, children, or the children in your kids ministry. So the front cover is just again a simple picture, the 12 spies, and it shows there Joshua and Caleb, or any of the spies really, carrying a big bunch of grapes, returning, showing them some of the treasures which they found there in the land of promised. At the start, as always, is an introduction. There's a QR code there that shows the songs for this week in the YouTube playlist, as well as a few YouTube videos I found which retells this story. Some of the important points that I want us to bring across this week from our passages is found in Numbers 1 through to 3 and then Numbers 13 and 14. First of all, we're talking about God telling Moses to make a census of the people, so to sort the people out by tribe and then to count them. And this would be important because we see that they put in 12 tribes and 12 spies going to a land. So we'll look at that. We'll look at, as they go into land, that it was a beautiful place. We'll look at Joshua and Caleb, that despite their fear, despite the scary things they saw, that they overcame that fear by trusting in God. We'll be reminded that God is bigger than anything which we face. That even though things scare us, they look big to us, that God is far more powerful. Then we should see that we should fix our eyes on Him instead of those things just worry us. We'll also look about who we are called or who we believe. So the children of Israel chose to believe the 10 spies who didn't want to go in the land, who were scared, rather than the 2, Caleb and Joshua, who said, yes, we can do it, and put their trust in God. So are we following the advice of the right people? So as you go through this week's lesson, there's the main points I just read out to you. And here's some just extra pointers about how maybe you can deliver this in a way which your kids can really apply it to their lives. So you go on to the next pages, you will see there's the 12 Spies story. It covers 2 pages. It's in child-friendly language, which under 5 should be able to read. Then games and activities. So again, they're here, you can read through them. First one is I Spy. We've all played it. We can play it anywhere, in the car, in the house, in church, in the park. Just play with it with your kids and realize that as we are spying out items, that's what they did. The spies went into the land to see what they could see. Another idea which we did this week was a fruit banquet. So the idea of this is to get some of your child's favorite fruit. As the spies came back, they said, look, that's a land flowing with milk, with honey, with giant grapes, with pomegranates and figs and so on. God gives us things to enjoy. God gives us foods which we like. So it's important to sit down with our child, remember this, and give thanks to God for the good things that He gives us, things which we can enjoy. Then as the lesson starts with a census, Numbers 1 to 3, what I want to do is teach what a census means. It's unlikely that your child, exactly Timothy, didn't know what a census was, but he does understand sorting and counting, which is basically what it is. So we can take some of their toys, and for example, we put his cars into one pile, some of his Play-Doh into another pile, some building blocks into another, and we just sorted them out. Okay, these toys and so on, and then counted them up. Idea of what a census is, what Moses told the children of Israel to do. So it brings us on to our worksheets. There's 4 worksheets in this week's lesson. The first one is a jigsaw of some of the items which they found in the promised land. So milk, honey, pomegranates and grapes. I'm not sure if you can see in the video, but there's small lines in the middle of each one. So the idea is cut out the big box and cut them out, shuffle them all on the floor or on the table, then have your kids resort them to make these pictures. The next one is called big or small. And this is because when the children of Israel went in, or the spies went in promised land, they came back and said, look, we're like grasshoppers compared to the giants that live there. They seen themselves small compared to something else was big. Then we are again reminded that even though the giants may seem big, God is much bigger. So let's identify small to big. So in this worksheet, what the children have to do is find the big objects and color them in blue, and find the small objects and color them in red, just to identify the difference. Now the next one is word faces, and this is to teach emotions as well as counting. So we got at the bottom, these plus this equals 12. Again, 12 spies, but also reinforms what we learned in the story. So 10 of the spies were sad, they were scared, they didn't want to go into the land. Then 2 of them were happy and they did. So what you need to do is just draw some sad faces on the top ones, then you can colour them in to look better. Then at the bottom, some happy faces because they were happy to trust in God and go into the land to colour in. And then you count them with your child. So 1, 2, 3, for example, until you come to 12 at the bottom. But again, it gives the idea like most of them were scared, but they trust in God. Then if you can't play I Spy out and about, there's a simple I Spy worksheet. The items below are what you need to find in the picture above. You just see there's a tractor and you would just draw a circle around both to show that you've found it. Now this week's craft, I want to do something a little bit different. We talked about the spies going into the land to see what they could find. So I want you to build this element into the craft. So this week's craft, you'll see it here, is a nature collage. And we're going to make a picture of grapes, remember of the giant grapes which they found there. But it starts by going out into, it could be into your garden, it could be into a local park or anywhere, and looking around nature, seeing what we can find to make our picture. So what we really need to find something small, like more pebbles or gravel, some twigs and some leaves, and that's about it. Some grass we put at the bottom. I'm not sure if you can see too well in this picture, but really that's what it is. So a piece of cardboard, then use some sticky glue or some craft glue, we stuck on a twig, and we made some small triangles with glue and then scattered on it some of the gravel to make it look like grapes. Stuck some grass here, stuck some leaves around. Then once it was all dry, we just painted the gravel purple to make it look more like grapes. It was a really fun activity, and if you just take a bit of glue with you and a bit of cardboard, you can do it outside. That's what we did, enjoying a bit of a sunshine. But it's just a fun way to combine both the idea of going out to find something as well as building the craft, which reminds us of the lesson. So towards the end then we have a colouring page I've included as always. It's kind of a copy of the front cover, but your child can colour it in. It's a picture of the 2 spies and the grapes. And that's just easy to print. Use as a time filler or use as one extra activity of the week just to remind them of the story. And finally, on the last page is the worship time and prayer time and a preview of next week's lesson. So some of the songs I suggest, again, they're in the YouTube playlist to go alongside this lesson, is My God is so big, so strong and so mighty. We can see that even though those giants were big, God is bigger. And be bold, be strong, for the Lord your God is with you or with me. Again, it's a classic kids worship song, but we're reminded that they were too scared to go in. But we should be brave, we should be strong in the situations we find difficult because God is with us and He is strong. And finally, there's a new song I heard called Be Strong and Courageous. I really like the tune, it's really catchy, and the words in it are very important. So here's some songs you can sing with your child this week. And the prayer time is just asking God to help us and help your child to be strong and to trust in Him, to be brave because of Him, and to thank Him that He is bigger and stronger than anything we may face. Well, I hope you really enjoy this lesson. I really encourage you to just sit down with your child and to realize what it means to trust Him over circumstances. I hope you be blessed as you do this lesson. Next week, we will be going, considering wandering in the wilderness. So the children of Israel who didn't trust, well, everybody really apart from Joshua and Caleb weren't allowed in the land. And we're going to see what happened as a result, that they wandered in the wilderness. But even though they wandered, God was still with them. So that's next week's lesson. I'll join you again then with another video, and I really hope that you have a blessed week.